Hello, my name is Joshua Mugabe. I welcome you to Respiratory System. What is the difference between respiration, meaning gaseous exchange, and cellular respiration? Respiration, meaning gas exchange, is a process in which an organism absorbs from the environment gases necessary for cellular metabolism and expel gases that are product of metabolism. Cellular respiration can be aerobic or anaerobic, is a chemical reaction in which the organic molecules are degraded to make ATP molecules, the main energy source of the metabolism. Gaseous exchange is fundamental for cellular respiration, since the supplying of some reagents like oxygen in aerobic cellular respiration and expelling of some products like carbon dioxide of this chemical reaction depends on gas exchange. What is the chemical equation for aerobic cellular respiration? The chemical equation for aerobic cellular respiration is as follows. 1 molecule of glucose plus 6 molecules of oxygen plus 36 ADP plus 36 inorganic phosphate, they give us 6 carbon dioxide molecule, 6 water molecule, and 36 ATP. Considering the chemical equation of aerobic cellular respiration, which molecule does the cell need and which molecule does the cell liberate in the process? Considering the chemical equation of the aerobic cellular respiration, it is observed that glucose and molecular oxygen are needed as reagents, and carbon dioxide and water are released. The process also spends ADP and phosphate that turn into ATP. What are the different types of gas exchange that occur in animals? The beings from Kingdom and Moria, the gas exchange may occur by diffusion, tracheal respiration, cutaneous respiration, branchial respiration, or pulmonary respiration. Oxygen comes from the environment and carbon dioxide in the end returns to the environment. How do small animals solve the problem of taking away and bringing these molecules from and to their cells? Why isn't that solution possible for larger animals? Small animals whose tissues make direct contact or very close to the environment, like Daria polyphera, makes gas exchange by diffusion. Large animals with cells without direct contact with the environment, far from it, need special gas transportation systems. These animals, the respiratory and circulatory systems, play this role. Bringing four phylum, beings from four phylum of animal kingdom, breathe, do gas exchange by diffusion. Which are those phyla? How is the type of respiration associated with the features present in these animals? The phyla of animal kingdom whose being do gas exchange by diffusion are the polyphela, the Nidalia, Platyhelminths, flatworms, and nematodes, the roundworms. This type of respiration of this being is possible because their tissues and cells are relatively close to the exterior. Which animals make tracheal respiration? Is there blood-like fluid that participates in this process? Insects, arachnids, are the arthropod animals that make tracheal respiration. The body surface of these animals, there are many orifices called spiracles that communicate with the small tubules, the tracheas, through which the air penetrates and carbon dioxide is expelled. The trachea ramify into tracheoles that reach all tissue of the animals. In the circulatory system, the insects, the blood only transports nutrients, gases, and independently transported by tracheal system. What is the difference between respiration by diffusion and cutaneous respiration? Does blood participate in cutaneous respiration? Cutaneous respiration is not as simple as diffusion. In diffusion, gases diffuse directly between the external environment and the cells. In cutaneous respiration, molecular oxygen penetrates through the skin and it is collected by blood circulation that is then distributed or distributes the gas to the tissues. Carbon dioxide is also collected from the tissues by the blood and taken to the skin to be eliminated to the environment. So there is important participation of blood in cutaneous respiration. Which animals make cutaneous respiration? Terrestrial annelids, adult amphibian, make cutaneous respiration. In amphibian, there is also pulmonary respiration. The thin skin and the need for living in moist surroundings are typical features of these animals. What are branchioles? What are examples of animals that breathe through branchioles? Branchioles are also known as gills that are smaller portion of richly vascularized tissue, internal or external to the body, and in direct contact with the surrounding water. The gills are organs that make gas exchange in aquatic annelids, crustaceans, fish, and amphibia larvae that we call the tadpole. What is the difference between the gills and the lungs? Gills and lungs are richly vascularized organs that serve for gas exchange between the environment and the circulatory system. The lungs differentiate from the gills in that they are sac-like structure, always internal to the organism and specialized in gas exchange in terrestrial environment. Branchial, in their turn, are internal or external laminar structure in direct contact with the water, specialized in gas exchange in aquatic environment. Besides vertebrate, two invertebrate phyla contain species that make pulmonary respiration. Which are these phyla? Terrestrial mollusks and the arachnid arthropods are invertebrates that present pulmonary-like respiration. Some terrestrial mollusks have mantle cavity filled with air that makes contact with richly vascularized tissue and work as rudimentary lungs. Beside their tracheal respiration, some arachnids have book lungs, thin fold resembling leaves of books that make gas exchange. What are the three types of respiration in which circulatory system transport gases? The circulatory system has an important role in cutaneous respiration, branchial respiration, and pulmonary respiration. Respiratory function of the blood is tailored for the transportation of gases for exchange between the tissues and the respiratory surface in contact with the exterior, the skin, the gills, and the lungs. What are respiratory pigments? What are some of the respiratory pigments and in which animal groups can each of them be found? Respiratory pigments are molecules present in the blood that bind to oxygen, transporting it to the tissue. In vertebrates, the respiratory pigment is hemoglobin, reddish due to iron of its composition. In crustacea and arachnid arthropods, in some mollusks, the respiratory pigment is hemocyanin, blue due to the copper in its composition. Annelids have hemoglobin, hemolysin, and chlorochlorine as respiratory pigments. What are the organs that form the human respiratory system? The organs that are part of the human respiratory system can be divided into three groups: the lungs, the airways, and the respiratory muscles. The lungs are the right and left lungs made of alveoli, where gas exchange, that is entrance of oxygen and exit of carbon dioxide, take place. Lungs are covered by the pleural, a serous membrane. The airway comprehends the nose and the pharynx, larynx, including the vocal cord, the trachea, the bronchi, and the bronchioles. The muscles upon which the breathing process depends are mainly the diaphragm muscles and intercostal muscles, muscles that are between the ribs. What is the anatomical reason for the left bronchus to be more elevated than the right bronchus? Why is most cases of aspiration of foreign material by children is object found in the right bronchus? The left bronchus is more elevated than the right bronchus because of the position of the heart in the left side of the chest, anterior and inferior to the left bronchus. Accidentally, aspired objects are frequently found in the right bronchus because the inferior angle between the trachea and this bronchus is lower than the inferior angle between the trachea and the left bronchus, since the left bronchus is more horizontal. Therefore, aspired objects tend to fall in the right side bronchus and not in the left. How does the body defend itself from microorganisms and other harmful substances that enter the airway during breathing process? The epithelium of the airway is ciliated epithelium and has mucus-secreting cells. The secreted mucus covers the interior wall of the airway, retaining organisms and foreign particles that have swept by the cilia of the epithelium. The mucus ciliated epithelium of the airway, there is also an intense activity of immune system with antibodies and leukocytes inactivating and destroying the foreign agents. Other defense mechanisms of the airway are the sneeze and cough. They help to eliminate the solid and semi-fluid particles like pathogenic residues, sputum, and accidentally aspired objects. Which are the respiratory muscles in the mammals? Mammals, the muscles that participate in breathing process are the diaphragm and intercostal muscles. In respiratory insufficiency, other muscles can help in the respiration, the muscles of the shoulder, the neck, thorax, and abdomen. How are inhalation and exhalation carried out? The diaphragm, exclusive of mammals, and the intercostal muscles can contract and relax, varying the volume of the thorax, the compartment where the lungs are located. The changing of the thorax volume forces inhalation and exhalation. When the thorax volume is increased, an internal pressure lowers than the atmospheric pressure, which is the external, is created. Gases naturally enter the lungs. When the thorax volume is lowered, the internal pressure rises above the external pressure and the air is expelled from the lungs. What is the difference between arterial and venous blood? Arterial blood is oxygen-rich, carbon dioxide-poor blood that originates the tissues. Venous blood is oxygen-poor and carbon dioxide-rich blood collected from the tissues. What is hematosis? In a human, where does hematosis occur? Hematosis is the oxygenation of blood. Venous blood, oxygen poor, after hematosis is transformed into arterial blood, oxygen rich. In a human, hematosis takes place in the lungs. What are the blood vessels that carry venous blood to the heart? What is the blood vessel that collects arterial blood from the heart? Blood vessels that debouch in the heart carrying venous blood are the inferior and superior vena cava. The blood vessels that carries arterial blood from the heart is the aorta. What is the gas exchange unit in the mammalian lungs? The gas exchange unit in the mammalian lungs are the alveoli. What is the physical process through which gas exchange is accomplished in the pulmonary alveoli? The gas exchange, entry of oxygen and exit of carbon dioxide in the pulmonary alveoli occur by simple diffusion in favor of the partial pressure gradient. When oxygen partial pressure in the inhaled air is higher than the oxygen partial pressure in the capillaries of the alveoli, air diffuses to the circulatory system. If the oxygen partial pressure in the air is lower, rare situation since blood that reaches the alveoli is venous blood, oxygen exits the circulatory system. The same is true for carbon dioxide. What are the structures of the central nervous system that regulate pulmonary respiration? Pulmonary respiration is controlled by the neurorespiratory center located in the medulla, the lower part of the brain, continuous with the spinal cord. What is the chemical equation for the formation of bicarbonate from carbon dioxide and water? What is the enzyme that catalyzes this reaction? The chemical equation for the chemical equilibrium of the formation of bicarbonate is a reagent called carbon dioxide and water is as follows. Carbon dioxide plus water will give us carbonic acid, which dissociates to give hydrogen ions and a bicarbonate. The reaction is catalyzed by an enzyme carbonic anhydrase present in the red blood cells. Where are the consequences of shifting the chemical equilibrium of the formation of bicarbonate from carbon dioxide and water towards the increase of the product's bicarbonate formation? The increase in the formation of the chemical equilibrium of the formation of the bicarbonate from carbon dioxide and water heightens the concentration of hydrogen ions and thus lowers the pH of the solution. What are the consequences of shifting the chemical equilibrium of the formation of bicarbonate from carbon dioxide and water towards the consumption of products of the reverse reaction? Shifting the chemical equilibrium of the formation of bicarbonate and carbon dioxide and water into the reverse reaction, that is production of water and carbon dioxide, means spending hydrogen ions and thus increasing the solution pH. How does the pulmonary ventilation affect carbon dioxide concentration in blood? What happens to the carbon dioxide concentration and to the blood pH when the respiratory frequency is either lowered or increased? Pulmonary ventilation frequency, number of inhalation per unit time, rises or lowers the carbon dioxide concentration in the blood. If it is intense, the gas is more eliminated to the exterior. If it is reduced, the gas is retained inside the organism. Applying the principle of chemical equilibrium to the formation of bicarbonate from carbon dioxide and water, one gets the following. If carbon dioxide concentration is increased in the equilibrium, shifts towards the formation of bicarbonate and liberation of hydrogen ions, and the pH of the solution is lowered. If the carbon dioxide concentration is lowered, the equilibrium shifts reversely towards the formation of water and carbon dioxide, and also more hydrogen ions spending, and the pH of the solution is raised. What is acidosis and alkalosis? Acidosis is the condition in which the blood pH is normally low. Alkalosis is a condition in which the blood pH is normally high. Normal pH level for human blood are between 7.35 and 7.45, slightly alkaline. How does the breathing process correct acidosis? If the body experiences acidosis, respiratory center located in the medulla gets the information and induces the increase in the respiratory frequency. The increment of the respiratory frequency makes the body eliminate more carbon dioxide to shift the equilibrium to the formation of bicarbonates towards the spending of more hydrogen ions, and thus the blood pH rises. How does the breathing process correct alkalosis? If the body undergoes alkalosis, respiratory center located in the medulla gets the information and induces the lowering of the respiratory frequency. The reduction of the respiratory frequency makes the body retain more carbon dioxide to shift the equilibrium to the formation of bicarbonates towards the production of more hydrogen ions, and thus the pH is lowered. What is the difference between respiratory alkalosis, metabolism acidosis, and what is the difference between respiratory alkalosis and metabolic alkalosis? Respiratory acidosis is that in which the blood pH is low due to increased retention of carbon dioxide caused by lowering the respiratory frequency, and by pulmonary disease that impair the gas exchange. So the cause of respiratory acidosis is the pulmonary respiration. Metabolic acidosis is that in which the blood pH is low, not due to the pulmonary retention of carbon dioxide, but due to the metabolic disturbance. Some metabolic disturbance results in the revelation of the blood of non-volatile acids that release hydrogen ions, lowering the blood pH, e.g. diabetic ketoacidosis. Respiratory alkalosis is that in which the pH is high due to the increased expelling of carbon dioxide caused by elevated respiratory frequency. Metabolic alkalosis is an alkalosis caused by metabolic disturbance that increases the concentration of the bases, alkalis, in the blood. Where are the chemoreceptors that detect the acidity of the blood and trigger the respiratory compensation located? The chemoreceptors that participate in ventilation control are structures that collect information about acidity or alkalinity of the blood. The information is transmitted by the nervous fibers to the respiratory center located in the medulla. The center then commands the respiratory muscles to compensate the normal pH. There are central and peripheral chemoreceptors. Peripheral chemoreceptors for pH carbon dioxide, and partial pressure and oxygen partial pressure are located in the walls of the aorta and the carotid arteries. Central chemoreceptors that get pH information are located within the medulla of the respiratory center. Pulmonary ventilation is also controlled by receptors that receive pH information from the cerebrospinal fluid. Thank you very much for participating in Respiratory System. Please do like, share, and subscribe.